In the Pacific Northwest, out in Oregon, we do have some larger grower cooperatives who are commercially growing kiwi berries. When you see kiwi berry in the grocery store, that's often coming from Oregon if it's U.S. produced.
This is Serious Grower Podcast. I'm Anna. I'm an entomologist. I'm a scientist. I'm using this podcast to talk to all kinds of growers and eaters who are serious about their farms, their gardens, their food systems, and I am asking, how can science help? Today's co-host is Casey. She is an experienced market farmer, having grown in Northern California and now in the Bitterroot Valley out in western Montana. Her family is transitioning into non-commercial farming. She's a homesteader now. You'll be hearing plenty from her because her experience brings so many unique perspectives and because she's my best friend. And, you know, we do catch up about dinner from time to time.
My very favorite thing, and partially because of the word, but is to spatchcock a turkey. And you just like split it right up the middle. And also you get to say the word spatchcock. And we haven't spatchcocked in a while because we inherited this kind of antique bird pan, like a roasting pan. That's just awesome from our friend. And so a spatchcock thing doesn't fit in there is all, but it's perfect for a turkey. So we stuffed it. Jesse made the stuffing and it was special because it was everything bagel stuffing, chunked up everything bagels, some pear, sausage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was really good. So I looked it up. I was like, when did everything become a bagel? Well, Google didn't understand what I was talking about at all. They're like, everything in this, because when you say everything, it's like everything,
I'm sure about that. That's crazy. Because like when I think of everything bagel now, I think of that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Have you seen that?
Dave Eggers story or something?
I forget the filmmakers. It's two dudes who always direct things together. They also directed one of my favorite movies, Swiss Army Man. It was the first movie that Daniel Radcliffe made as an adult. After Harry Potter fame, an adult man. And this is like the first movie he made. And I am obsessed with it. It's so weird. Paul Dano plays this guy who like gets shipwrecked and he finds a dead man that he uses for like a bunch of stuff. Daniel Radcliffe plays the corpse, right?
Okay, I have seen this and I thought it was a dream.
It's a movie and it's Daniel Radcliffe's first movie as an adult, right? And this is what he chose.
Yeah, the farting corpse. Yes.
Yeah, and so he's riding it like a jet ski. It's really very It's like sad and touching and lovely. I don't know if you know this, but I'm kind of obsessed with Daniel Radcliffe because who has this experience of like doing the thing that's going to be on your tombstone by the time you're like 8 or 9 years old? Like, what do you do? What do you do after you've done the thing before you even became a person, right?
Yeah, it's got to be rough. Like every other movie, they'll be like, and Harry Potter's in this movie. I'm just Daniel Radcliffe now, you guys.
Yeah. And like, what is he going to do? Like, he's just a really interesting character to me. And it sounds like he's a pretty nice dude as well. Like, he's really sweet. And this movie is so funny. Like, the character he plays, like, I know he plays a corpse, but he's kind of sweet. Like, he's kind of, like, it's edgy and adult. Like, he's farting and he's dead.
Yeah, that's definitely unique. They didn't follow any other script from any other movie, which is good.
Oh, but the guys who made that movie, I guess like they gained fame from doing like a lot of music videos, but they made Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's very heady. It's like a multi-universe kind of situation, but it has to do with like generational trauma. It's so touching. Like I wept. It was beautiful. But there's this construct. This character puts literally everything on a bagel, like literally everything, like the dreams and everything, and it becomes a black hole. And like so, like the whole concept is that this woman is trying to save her daughter from being sucked into the everything bagel.
Wow,
it's really beautiful.
That is really beautiful. It's like very like meta.
You have to be in the right headspace to enjoy that movie, but I highly recommend it.
Yeah, for my Google search, I finally just had to be like, when did everything bagel become a bagel? For Google to understand what I meant.
Because you were asking, when did everything become a thing? Is that what
We did find out everything bagel became a bagel. It was either in the late 70s or early 80s. We think it's just like ubiquitous, but it hadn't been around for only 45 years. In the history of bagels, some bagel shop said they had the brand new thing, but then some guy in the 80s was like, I made everything bagel. And the first guy was like, wait a second, I've had everything bagel at my store for the last 8 years. So there's still kind of controversy about when and where it began.
anything good, there's going to be somebody who said that they were the first one to do it. Well, I actually think this discussion of oddball men seeking infamy is the perfect lead in to what I wanted to talk about, which is oddball fruit crops. Maybe oddball isn't the right word here. Sometimes you'll hear specialty crops, but even specialty is not obscure enough for what we're talking about here. The term orphan crops is a little bit closer. This term is used to imply an underutilized, often indigenous plant species. They're typically pretty nutrient dense, resilient, climate adaptable crops, but they get very little investment in breeding or technology compared to mainstream crop species. They also tend to be kind of littered with characters, like the men who are in search of some kind of claim to fame. Now, Dr. Yago Hale heads up a breeding program at the University of New Hampshire that seeks to pull some of these crops out of obscurity, do some molecular fingerprinting, work with nurseries to get some quality control and consistency. I recorded an interview with Will Hastings, who earned his master's with Dr. Hale, and these two wrote the book on kiwiberry production in northern climates. I'm including a link in the show notes, but you can find their guide at nor'easterkiwiberries.com. Kiwiberry are vining or bining crops, just like the kiwi you're thinking of, and they taste just like the kiwi you're thinking of, but they're smaller, more like grape-sized, and they are hairless. They're not fuzzy, so you can eat them whole without peeling off the skin. I guarantee you'll start seeing them in the grocery store now that you've heard me talking about them. They are absolutely fantastic. Casey and I usually will listen into interviews, or I'll have Casey listen to interviews before we meet again. This time we watched this together to get her live reaction, so we're going to be jumping in and out. I was feeling out whether or not kiwiberry would be a good addition to her increasingly diversifying small fruits garden.
I also like the idea of being kind of like Mystery Science Theater 3000 about it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, because I want my experts to want to do interviews. I don't want to be like, oh, will you do an interview us and we're going to like roast you?
Yeah. Who doesn't want that?
My name is Will Hastings. I'm a food and ag field specialist with the University of New Hampshire Cooperative Extension. I'm based in Coos County at the top of the state. Before joining Extension, I was the vineyard manager as well as a graduate student for Dr. Yago Hale's kiwiberry breeding and development program at the New Hampshire Agricultural Experiment Station. Part of the problem with kiwiberry, and I suspect a lot of other kind of backwater crops, if people trade them like baseball cards, nurserymen love to rename stuff on occasion and give it a fancy new name. So it's really hard just to walk off the street to any nursery and get variety A of kiwiberry and know that it's the same as another nursery's variety A. So the UNH kiwiberry program has been pushing folks towards Hartman's to get these pedigreed plants, and they're producing these at scale, so it's decent wholesale pricing as far as I've seen.
And that's something that like they can ship it to you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. What are your impressions of adoption since you left your program?
Still really trying to get growers to adopt in a big way within the United States, specifically in the Northeast. In the Pacific Northwest, out in Oregon, we do have some larger grower cooperatives who are commercially growing kiwi berries. When you see kiwi berry in the grocery store, that's often coming from Oregon if it's US produced. Then New England, the Northeast corridor, we are having some growers put in smaller plantings meaning certainly less than an acre, in the order of 50 to 100 vines. What we are seeing, though, is there seems to be a lot more adoption north of the border in Quebec, where growers associations are paying a lot more attention to this. That's perennials, right?
Yeah.
Is people hear, oh, this is going to take me 5 years to begin getting a return on investment.
You know what's funny is I've been seeing them showing up in the grocery store, and I think it's a line, it might be from New Zealand, called pranksters. Do you know why they call them pranksters?
I bet that's in line with, the cuties that we see for the little oranges. I haven't seen those specifically, but yeah, everything gets a cute name and a little cartoon fruit graphic to go with it. So yeah, we're seeing berries coming in from New Zealand. We're seeing them come in from Chile, usually springtime for us, late winter,
Yeah.
when we're hitting harvest season in the Southern Hemisphere.
If you call them kiwis from New Zealand, it'd be like, you're buying me's. They had to chase the name for New Zealand. For sale, me's. Like,
Yeah, but kiwi fruit, like the big fuzzy kiwi fruit,
they're very specific. They're like kiwi fruit.
I think when Kiwis are talking about kiwi, they're thinking about the bird.
Oh, see, there's too many things. They can't say kiwi berry in New Zealand. It could be a bird, it could be the kiwi fruit, could be a me.
Yeah, like, because Sean, a friend of mine from New Zealand, was like telling me a story about somebody who was looking for kiwi fruit. And they're like, ew, why would you eat kiwi? Like, they were so grossed out.
It's a semantics thing. I know that happened with Hazcaps too, because people are like, what's Hazcap? Is it hazardous? Does it have capsaicin? And there was one particular leader around here a couple years ago. He's trying to call it skyberry. It was like blue. It's a berry. It sounds amazing, beautiful. So it has caps. The guy who runs the Western Agricultural Research Station, he's like, they're Hazcaps. They are not skyberries. And like honeyberries, yeah, I understand because it's like a honeysuckle.
I know there's folks in New York State who are kind of promoting Hazcaps too, and they say honeyberry.
Where did we get our Hazcaps from? Gosh, I can't remember the catalog we got them from, but I think they said honeyberries too. Maybe nobody wants to say Hazcap. I don't know where that came from, but people are trying to change the name to sound more appealing.
I wonder what the guy that came up with skyberry didn't like honeyberry. Like honeyberry wasn't cool enough for him.
I think he just didn't know lots of things. Turns out this guy, so they must have had a lot of money, came into the valley, bought this existing greenhouse that was like super duper fancy glass greenhouse with like shutters and curtains. I mean, the thing must have been a couple $1 million property included too. They were just going to grow tomatoes. Then they also sold like $10 starts of skyberry. Well, they were only in the valley for about 3 years. Last I heard, the guy got beat up at a bar for like snake oil sales, trying to, take people's money and then run and then like hit the road. We have never seen those guys since then. The greenhouse has been abandoned ever since. Walked through their greenhouse one year, and it was when they had all those tomatoes in there. They had no heat, and it was like 4 days after a hard frost, and all these just dead, like black turning, slimy tomatoes all strung up and just fruit rotting, falling off the vine. I heard other stories about this guy too from before he came here. He had been at University of Washington, like peddling some other type of like small fruit crop with under another name.
I don't think I realized how big of a deal this is. So you can see that with the promotion of this kiwi berry breeding program, like they were really trying to be like, no, we're serious. Like there's a pedigree. Like this is like a guaranteed tasty berry. If you get this from a reputable supplier. I guess I didn't realize how many characters there are behind the scenes.
Yeah, there's a bunch of characters, and that's like one of the specialties of the Western Agricultural Research Center, just right up the road from here. It's like specialty small fruit crops. I don't think they've started doing kiwi berries yet. I feel like this is just the very next frontier.
Is that, you think that would be up their alley at some point?
Oh, it'd be totally up their alley. I'll tell you what they're growing now. Aronia berries.
Oh, yeah.
They aren't particularly good.
Well, maybe it's because they don't have a breeding program to support them.
I think they do have a breeding program and they're trying to figure it out. They have a few different varieties. They also do elderberries, which is
that would be
kind of a specialty fruit crop. Hazcaps is like their big one right now.
Okay, back to the interview. One of the coolest things about kiwi berry is that you harvest it before it's ripe. And so therefore it is resistant to SWD. And like that makes it really attractive. What is y'all's advice for when to harvest?
So early fall, we're going to start thinking about poking around looking for matured fruits. The way we'll do that is take a walk through the vineyard, pick a couple berries and cut them in cross section and take a look at the seeds. Those seeds are going to start out as white or translucent, and over the season they're going to get darker until they're brown or black, much like you'd see in a fuzzy kiwi fruit. Once you've reached dark seed, brown seed, that fruit's matured. At that point, we're waiting for starches to start converting into the sugars. Once I hit brown seed, I'm then coming out with a refractometer to measure my sugar content, or bricks, soluble solids. Initially, we were using 6.5 bricks as our harvest indicator. In recent years, that's gotten bumped up to closer to 8-9 bricks as the trigger to start harvesting. Once you hit your trigger bricks, strip the whole vine, call out any bad fruit, and get it into storage. Once you take that out and ripen it, bricks berry is going to get up into the mid to high 20s. Quite a sweet fruit.
Wait, what's SWD again?
Oh, it's the fly that I used to study. It's like the invasive fruit fly that lays its eggs in growing fruit. So like raspberries, blueberries, anything that's really soft skinned is susceptible to SWD infestation. So especially later in the season, raspberries that are coming out of the field, you really have to refrigerate them right away or eat them right away, or they'll be like moving with larvae
Gotcha.
or maggots. They had said in their guide, kiwi berry completely resistant to SWD because you harvest it hard. Like you don't wait for it to be ripe on the vine. We did a little preliminary study on this. I just zipped through part of this because I showed Will some data we collected in the summer of 2020. I am including a link to a little video I made with that preliminary data because it's not all that groundbreaking. It might not be that interesting, but it is providing support for something they had already intuited about kiwi berry. I did ask Will what he might like to see in terms of research on this area.
One thing that I would be interested in honing in on if I were growing these commercially is, or growing them at all, and we're open to using chemical controls. If levels were such that I felt a chemical intervention were warranted, when's the sweet spot for that application? Because clearly the SWD are staying out of these berries for the majority of the season. Yeah. You've just got this shorter time frame where you need to be a little bit more vigilant with your scouting and protection. If your data collected calls for it, if your on-farm scouting calls for it, then we can come in with some chemical controls to knock these down. Or maybe not at all. Maybe our assumptions will continue to hold that these things are pretty darn immune to SWD, and the amount of infestation we're seeing goes completely unnoticed by the consumer or is, within acceptable tolerance levels.
Or here's my other question for you, like thinking about the varieties, is that like how much variation is there as far as how long they're out in the field? And are there varieties that would be harvested late enough that you would miss that window where the flies are no longer reproductive?
We had about 50 different cultivars within the germplasm collection, or our genetic collection of every different kiwi berry that existed within the USDA and private collections in the US. When you add that program's breeding progeny on top of that, all these crosses, all the siblings, we're talking about thousands of distinct cultivars here. Within that, I think we're probably seeing this ripening window of 2 to 3 weeks between the first one through the gate and the last one out.
So there's nobody you would be harvesting like in November.
I really hope not.
Okay.
So one of the other cool things about this crop is it's cold to hardy down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit, give or take. When the plant is actively growing, it is very much not cold hardy and is susceptible to late season frosts.
Sure, yeah.
If your berries get a frost on them, your storability goes out the window. You start getting weird off flavors in the fruit. Sorry, I shouldn't say a frost, a fruit. From a growing standpoint, I would not want a very late harvesting cultivar. I would want to get everything in within a reasonable amount of time. I think thinking about different varieties you might plant, it'd be nice to have an early, a middle, and a late, just so you're not absolutely losing your mind during harvest season and have some sort of stagger on that. I'd like to have things buttoned up by mid-October.
Okay. That makes sense. This is like September, October in New Hampshire that he's talking about. They're harvesting. So
Gotcha.
was I right about like that's a window of time where you don't have a lot of fruit coming out of your fruit garden?
That's true. And depending on the year, we might have already had like our first hard frost by then. Anywhere between end of September on average, we're going to have our first like killing frost here.
And I'm wondering if that would even fit into your season where you are then. Like if you had a variety that was coming in September, you would probably be fine. But if you had to wait until October, that might be too late.
Yeah, I would think anything October would be too late here. But, that being said, we've had predictable first killing frost dates, but they have been getting later and later every year, it seems like. So if we want to be on the cutting edge, we might be able to start now and then have this new fruit variety.
If there's an earlier frost coming, you might be able to harvest it and they would ripen after harvest.
Well, I do still have questions like how easy are these things to pick? Is there like some method of training them where it makes it easier to pick? I just haven't really even seen what they look like.
I can show you pictures of their vineyard. It does take some infrastructure, right? Like you do need to build a trellis, like you do need to prune. They are really easy to pick. It's kind of like picking grapes. That's how they kind of compare it. Like when they were first thinking about how they were going to sell this, they were thinking about selling it the same way you sell clusters of grapes. I think eventually the industry settled on like those clamshells.
Oh, yeah.
The way that they sell ground cherry, they're kind of marketed similarly.
And I do love ground cherries too.
I love ground cherries.
So we've always kind of just like tossed up, would we want to have a U pick? Would we want to do more like value added sort of like products? I kind of like split the difference. I love having fresh berries to pick. If we have a bunch, just invite friends to come over. But I also love the idea of having like small specialty fruits for like value added products. We have a lady in the area that she makes kombucha and all sorts of different flavors of kombucha. And she loves to try new weird fruit crops that people have never heard of. It's kind of like a bonus for people to get to try. I think they would probably love kiwi berry if it made a good kombucha. It would be like the story to tell too. Like, this is a new berry that we've never tried before.
The idea of having like a locally produced kiwi fruit, like they are definitely really different than the kiwi fruit that you buy from abroad, like in appearance, but the flavor is very similar. They're really good. And to be able to have something produced locally, I think is exciting too.
Yeah. So I wonder if the berry, do you have to like skin the berry? Do you just eat the inside of the berry? You eat the outside too?
whole.
Is it furry?
No, it's
outside?
not furry at all.
Okay. I'm learning more about kiwi berry and I'm interested.
The experience is very much like eating a grape. I like them. They're really good, but I've also been lucky enough to have ample access to it living and working near a breeding program. I want somebody to pick up ground cherry. I really wonder why people don't run with that. I think it's viewed as being really weedy. Like it self-seeds really easily. And so like from a commercial point of view, people really don't like it.
From like a commercial grower point of view. Because I don't know if like consumers have had that many opportunities to like buy them really, unless it's like a specialty food market or something like that.
I definitely see them at almost every grocery store I go to, but like the variation in flavor is so much that like I think a lot of people when they first try it, they're like, ew, I don't like it. But do you think you maybe didn't have a good one?
Maybe you could see that too. Or maybe it could be an acquired taste. I've grown ground cherries here. And yeah, just like you said, it almost is like a weed. I mean, so much like a tomatillo. If a seed falls on the ground, it will sprout there the next year. Then you'll be wondering, is it a tomatillo? Is it a ground cherry? Let's let it go and see. There is a certain flavor about it, about ground cherries that is...
Dr. Williams used to use the term foxy.
Foxy as like wild tasting?
Yeah, I think so. He used to refer to muscadine grapes as being really foxy. And like nobody really knew what that meant. I think it was just a word he meant for like gamey is to meat, is foxy is to like
it's a gamey
obscure fruit.
I wonder why he didn't just call it musky. And then everyone would know what he means.
Well, I think musky has a bad connotation.
Foxy,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of appealing. It's like, what's that all about?
All right, back to the interview. Is there anything else people should know about kiwi berry? I think we kind of covered like infrastructure is a big deal. It'll take a couple of years before you start bearing fruit between planting and how many years?
If you're doing everything correct, that means you've taken a soil test, you've properly amended your soil, you are doing all the proper cultural practices, such as providing adequate irrigation and training and pruning. You can expect your first berries in its third field season.
Okay.
I think is a reasonable expectation. Not a large harvest, but you'll at least get a sample of what's to come. What constitutes a mature vine is a little hard to say because we can have kiwi berry planted at 5-foot spacing, and I've seen them all the way out to 60-foot spacing. Because it's a vine, we can have as large a production footprint from a single plant as we're willing to train it out to. But in general, on 10 feet between vines, vine is really coming into it year 6 probably. And you're going to start getting yields of 40 pounds. I would also encourage folks to just keep an eye for improved cultivars coming out of the UNH breeding program because they've got some really exciting stuff that I think they're going to be releasing in the coming years. That as far as production and storability and most importantly flavor, really blow a lot of the currently available cultivars out of the water. I mentioned there are 50 some odd cultivars out there of kiwi berries. They're all edible, but many of them have funky and off flavors. The 2 varieties that exist right now that can sort of stand up as commercial varieties are going to be Anna Nasnaya, commonly known as Anna, or Geneva 3. At least within U.S. production. So stay tuned.
Awesome. Do you see how good he's doing at his IPM education? I think this is because he's talking to me, but he's like laying it down. Like if your monitoring calls for it, you would lay down a chemical control. Like you would never do that unless there was pest pressure high enough to warrant it. Bingo. IPM education. Like he's really making me proud.
I have one more question. I wonder if it's just going to be like a fresh fruit sort of berry, or is it going to be a thing that you could like make cider or mead or even wine out of. I think wine because it's a vine, right? At the same time, I do want to tell you this, kiwi fruit, if you put it in Jello, a Jello cocktail, it makes your Jello not gel.
But yeah, like there's like an enzyme or something in it.
Something in there. So I wonder if like kiwi berry has the same thing. I'll do experimental Jello with kiwi berry.
I know that when they were making the guide, they were considering value add products, and there was somebody who was making a jelly. So I think that they figured it out. There's going to be some value added opportunities there.
But they didn't like issue a blanket giant warning like caution, do not put in Jello. They didn't do
No, they said
Stop short of that,
you
okay.
can figure it out for sure. Yeah.
Oh,
They're like,
and caution, you'll have to figure it out. Okay.
like whatever you do, don't put it in Jello. Don't get it wet. Don't feed it after midnight.
Okay, well, that's good info. I can already see it in my garden now, like a beautiful arch trellis, which part of my garden goal is to just have a beautiful looking garden. I guess I'm assuming since you're harvesting them before they're ripe, that you wouldn't have too much pressure from birds. I would put this on the non-bird net side of my garden.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Bird net side of the garden is like kind of getting full.
Okay, I did look it up. Raw kiwi fruit does contain high levels of a protease enzyme called actinidin. This is similar to something like bromelain that you'll find in pineapple. You might be really familiar with that stinging sensation you get from pineapple when you're eating raw pineapple. It really, really bothers me. It bothers some people more than others. It's actually digesting the proteins in your mouth tissue. That's the stinging. Raw kiwi fruit is not as strong as bromelain, but it will deactivate the proteins in gelatin. A little heat will deactivate that enzyme that deactivates the protein. This is just for raw fruit. If you cook it a little bit, denature the enzyme, then there should be no problem using that in a gelatin. Another option is using agar-agar. It's a plant-based stabilizer derived from seaweed, and that's not broken down by the enzymes found in raw kiwi. We'll leave it there. Thanks so much to Will Hastings for his time and for his expertise. I really appreciate it. Find photos of some of the things we discussed on our Instagram at Serious Grower. Serious Grower Podcast is a production of New Hampshire Community Supported Research. If you are interested in becoming co-host or would like to learn more about our mission to democratize agricultural research, visit our website at nhcsr.org or come over to our YouTube channel at NHCSR, where we're sharing insights from the agricultural research community and vlogging about our research efforts on the farm. You can support this work by liking and subscribing, and even better, consider joining our Patreon community.